The smile that cover a crime.
In the quiet, tree-lined town of Maple Creek, Sarah and Tom were the couple everyone looked up to. They were the perfect pair, high school sweethearts who'd built a beautiful life together. Sarah, a vibrant kindergarten teacher, and Tom, a respected local contractor, were the heart of their community. Their home was always filled with laughter, the smell of freshly baked cookies, and the warmth of a loving family. They seemed to have it all, a picture-perfect life that felt straight out of a storybook. Tom's smile was his trademark. It was a wide, genuine grin that could disarm anyone. When he spoke at town meetings or coached the Little League team, that smile was a constant. It radiated trustworthiness and dependability. Neighbors would say, "If you need anything, just ask Tom. He's the kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back." No one ever questioned his sincerity. That smile was a shield, a carefully constructed facade that hid a darkness no one could have ever imagined. It was the smile everyone trusted, and the one that would ultimately deceive them all. Looking back, the signs were there, but they were subtle, easy to dismiss. Sarah started missing her weekly book club meetings, explaining she was just tired. Friends noticed she'd become quieter, her usual bright-eyed enthusiasm replaced with a distant look. Once, a neighbor saw a flicker of fear in her eyes when Tom playfully put his arm around her, a flicker that vanished as quickly as it appeared. There were canceled coffee dates, unexplained bruises she'd laugh off as clumsiness, and a growing isolation that everyone attributed to the stresses of life. These were small, seemingly insignificant ripples on the surface of a seemingly placid lake, hiding a terrifying storm brewing underneath. Then, on a crisp October morning, Sarah vanished. Her car was still in the driveway, her purse and phone on the kitchen counter. A half-finished cup of coffee sat next to them. There was no note, no sign of a struggle, nothing. It was as if she had simply evaporated into thin air. The town buzzed with concern, then with panic. Search parties were organized, and missing person flyers with Sarah's smiling face were plastered on every lamppost and shop window. Maple Creek, a town that had always felt so safe, was now gripped by a chilling and profound sense of fear. Where was Sarah? Tom played the part of the distraught husband flawlessly. He stood before news cameras, his voice cracking, pleading for his wife's safe return. He organized search efforts, his face a mask of anguish and sleepless nights. He'd break down in tears when talking to neighbors who would wrap him in supportive hugs, their hearts aching for his pain. "I just want her home," he'd choke out, his performance so convincing that it brought the entire community to tears. He was the grieving husband, the victim, the man whose world had been shattered. It was a masterful act, a performance worthy of an award, and everyone in Maple Creek bought it, ticket and all. But in high-stress situations, even the best actors can forget their lines. During a televised interview, a reporter asked Tom a simple question: "What do you miss most about Sarah?" Tom's eyes welled up, and he began talking about their life together, how wonderful she was. But then he slipped. He said, "I miss all the wonderful things she was," using the past tense. It was a tiny, almost imperceptible error. The reporter didn't catch it, nor did most of the viewers at home. But one retired detective watching from his armchair sat up straight. It was a crack in the facade, a slip of the tongue that spoke volumes. The first hint that the grieving husband might be playing a role. That single word, was enough to spark suspicion. Investigators started digging, quietly at first, into Tom's life. What they found was a carefully hidden double life. There were secret credit cards with massive debts, late-night trips to neighboring cities he'd never mentioned, and a string of online communications with other women. The dependable family man was a phantom. Beneath the surface of the perfect husband was a man drowning in financial trouble and secrets, a man who felt trapped by the very life everyone else admired. The picture-perfect marriage was, in reality, a cage he was desperate to escape. The investigation led them to a remote piece of land Tom had recently purchased, supposedly for a new construction project. Armed with a search warrant and cadaver dogs, detectives combed the wooded property. After hours of searching, one of the dogs began to bark insistently near a patch of recently disturbed earth under a large oak tree. The digging began, and there, buried in a shallow grave, they found her. They found Sarah. The discovery sent a shockwave of horror through the police force and the town. The search was over. The hope that had flickered for weeks was extinguished in an instant, replaced by a cold, devastating certainty. Confronted with the evidence, Tom's composure finally shattered. He wasn't in a formal interrogation room, but in his own kitchen, the same kitchen where Sarah's coffee cup still sat. As detectives laid out the timeline, the financial records, the discovery on his land, he began to unravel. He started yelling, trying to create diversions, blaming everyone but himself. And then, in a fit of rage and self-pity, he screamed, "She just wouldn't listen. She was going to ruin everything I'd worked for." It wasn't a calm, calculated confession. It was a volcanic eruption of guilt and fury. He didn't mean to say it, but he did. He had confessed. The monster behind the smile was finally revealed. The news hit Maple Creek like a physical blow. The man they had comforted, the man they had supported, was a killer. The grief for Sarah was now compounded by a profound sense of betrayal. How could they have been so wrong? How could the man who coached their children's soccer teams and smiled at them in the grocery store be capable of such an act? The town was in shock, its sense of safety and community completely shattered. The flyers with Sarah's face were now memorials, surrounded by flowers and candles. The perfect couple was a lie, and their entire town had been living in it. The trial was a painful spectacle that broke the hearts of everyone who attended. Sarah's family and friends had to listen to the horrific details of her final days, reliving the nightmare over and over. Tom's defense tried to paint him as a desperate man pushed to the edge, but the prosecution methodically laid out the evidence of his deception, his manipulation, and his cold-blooded plan. The jury saw through the act. The guilty verdict was a solemn moment of justice, but it brought no joy, only a heavy, collective sorrow. The trial didn't bring Sarah back. It only cemented the terrible truth of her loss. The story of Sarah and Tom serves as a chilling and enduring lesson. It reminds us that evil doesn't always wear a monstrous face. Sometimes, it wears a familiar, trustworthy smile. It teaches us to pay attention to the small signs, the quiet whispers of distress that we might otherwise dismiss. It's a reminder that behind closed doors, things are not always as they seem. Maple Creek is slowly healing, but the scars remain. A permanent reminder to look beyond the perfect picture and to always, always listen to that flicker of doubt, that quiet gut feeling. Because sometimes it's the only thing that can see the truth hiding in plain sight. Thank you so much for watching. This was a difficult story to tell, but an important one. If you found this story compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content. Stay safe and take care of each other.